Hi, this is Faith, and you are watching The Faith Factor. Holla. All right, everybody. Good Friday evening. It's Friday, March 12th, and it is 9:30 over here in Phoenix. How everybody doing this evening? All right, well, this is Faith and the Faith Factor on the night ride, coming at you with these titillating thoughts. All right, guys, I have been everywhere out and about, paying attention, looking here and fro at all the different information going on out here in the world on like YouTube, etc., etc. So let's get down to it because these random thoughts come randomly, and I'm here to share them with you, the audience. All right, so first things first. We have had a lot of people coming in and talking about the Meghan Markle and Prince Harry situation. I did do a video on it. And, I said that I was going to wait until the Oprah Winfrey information dropped, and it did. So this Saturday, I do plan on going into a lot more depth and detail on the intricacies of that entire situation and bring out some other things that I have noticed with that particular situation. But I will say that Prince Williams did come out and make his statement. And as everyone else has pointed out, I really do believe that the two people that made the racist statement about the baby skin has something to do with the people surrounding his father and his brother. And those happen to be the two people that he said in the interview that he had with his wife on Oprah that he is having to have space, if you will, from. So that would be Prince Charles and his brother, Prince Williams. And I'm not too surprised. Because like I said, when his mother was alive and she was married to his father, Prince Charles, his mother, she went through a similar situation as Harry's now wife, Meghan, is going through. There's a lot of bullying going on in the palace. There's a lot of people, not treating her fairly because of the origins of where she comes from, having a black parent. And so Harry, being the leader and the head of the household of his family that he had to make an executive decision to do what was right for him and his family. And so I do have a lot of respect for Prince Harry. for making that decision to put his family first, even in front of his royal title. But I won't, dwell on that because there are other things that I would like to go into and discuss this evening. I think that's just beating a dead horse. And like I said a lot of that in the previous video. You can watch it, it's still up. But what I will say is this, family situations, they're very delicate, okay? When you're marrying into a person's family, you're not just marrying that person, but you're also marrying that entire family. And so before you tread into a situation, I would hope anyone who's smart enough would be vetting that person and also vetting the family. You have to also vet the family that you are marrying into because it's a unit, whether you like it or not. These are now people that will become part of your inner circle. What's up, Koja? Koja Malik in the house. So definitely you want to vet the entire family. It's not just your husband that you should be looking at, but how are the women in his family and how does he interact with the women in his family? How about the men in the family? How do they move? What is the general environment like in that family? You see, a lot of times we're just being selfish and we're just thinking, okay, well, this is my husband, this is the person that I want to marry, and this is the person that I'm going to build a family with. But you're building a family within a family when you marry someone. So you have to be very careful about that. You're not going to escape interacting with the family unless you do like my aunt Tina did with my uncle Columbus. She pulled him away from his family. They had to move to a whole nother state, like 3,000 miles away from his family. So if it's that type of situation, maybe. But other than that, you're basically marrying into that family. So it would behoove you to find out what you're getting yourself into. And usually I was on Rude's panel and he made a very, very good point, and shout out to Rude Dimp for making this point. But in a lot of our families, the women do tend to pick on the other women that are coming into the family. So if the mother has a son and he brings a wife into the family, those women are going to shit test that wife. So you talk about men going through a shit test. Yeah, we do. We shit test these women that coming into our family. And some of us, we do it out of love and concern for our loved one. And then those others of us do it out of bitterness, hatred, envy, and just being evil in general. And whenever it is the latter, that is a hell of a situation to have to deal with going in. So this is why you vet so that you can know what you're dealing with. And then you also need to see how your husband handles that situation. Because I don't necessarily believe that you need to throw your husband away because his family is a family of assholes. But I will throw a whole man away if he does not get those assholes in his family under control. So you definitely want to pay attention to how your man deals with that situation and if his family has any respect for him. Because a lot of times, even if he does speak up, if the people in his family don't respect him, his words will fall on deaf ears. Now, me, that doesn't necessarily mean either that I would throw a whole man away, especially if he's a good man. That just means that, okay, now, if your family wants to continue to be disrespectful, even if you have stepped in, if I need to step in on my own behalf, are you going to have my back? Now, see, there's two things that have to happen for me with a disrespectful family. Number one, you had better be stepping up and speaking up. And number two, if I have to intervene on my own behalf, you had better have my back. Two things got to happen. And if those two things don't happen and you know your family are assholes, I'm going to have to throw you and the whole family away. And you had better be ready to turn your back on these assholes when it's time for us to leave. Because I would do the same for you. And this is only if this is somebody you're going to spend the rest of your life with. Because I will tell you right here today, there are families that will sit here and try to sabotage your situation. They will definitely try to sabotage. Because a lot of times there are a lot of women that are sitting in your family that have been alone and lonely for years. And they're not like me, happily single. They're not happily single women that are just, going about their lives, not bothering anybody and not making everybody miserable. These are women that are not happily single. And if they see you coming in and you're talking about being happily married to somebody and they could never find anyone, there, then that's where you have the misery love company brigade coming in to pretty much rain on your parade and hers too. And they're really, really gonna hurt the person that you're with because it's a woman. And notoriously, bitter women hate other women. Not all women, just bitter women. Bitter women hate other women. And that they perceive this woman as taking away the only man that they have in their lives that paid them any type of attention, gave them any type of love, protection, etc., then they're going to make life a living hell for that woman because they perceive her as a threat. So this is why I tell people, know what you're getting into. Know exactly what you are getting into. And when you get into it, know how you're going to proceed and handle it. Always know exactly what your action plan is going to be. Like I said, for me, if I'm with a guy and his family is a family of assholes, two things got to happen for me. You got to have my back if I have to step up for myself, and you have also got to step up for us. If those two things don't happen, I'm gonna throw you and the whole family away. I repeat, throw the man and the whole family away if those two things don't transpire. Now, regular shit test is something totally different. And that's something that I would put any woman that my son brings into his life through. And yeah, I'm gonna, question her about some things and give her some shit about some things, but it's not gonna be out of anger and bitterness and vitriol or trying to run her away from my son, but simply to gather information so that I can give my son my input, but it's only input. I will never tell my son who he should and shouldn't marry or be with. That is the difference. And I won't be trying to run anyone away unless now there are nuances to this because I am a mom, right? There are nuances to it. Now, if I know that she's a complete and total and utter scumbag, then I just might reach down into my motherly bag of hatred and do some things. But this person has got to be a real total scumbag in order for me to do that. And I haven't really met too many of the young ladies that my son have brought around that fell into that category. He's very selective about the young ladies that he introduces me to. And I think I've only met one lady this entire time. And she's very nice woman, very, very good woman, seems to come from a good family. And I like her. So far my son has not brought anyone around that I had an issue with. But at any rate, I was having a really interesting conversation earlier. My sister Love Wisdom and I, we do a lot of talking because we talk about content. And I was talking about baby birds and mama birds. And the reason why is because I was watching videos. I love watching those nature videos on YouTube, and I watch a lot of Animal Planet. There's a little fun, interesting fact about me, about Faith. I like to watch those little animal videos on television. You know, the lions and tigers and bears and all that type of stuff. I'm really into the nature and the wild. So I came across this interesting video about a mama duck, and she had basically, built the nest, for her ducks, and it was time for the little baby ducks to, come out of the nest. So the nest was a little bit up high, like upon a hill. And so what the mama duck started doing when the baby ducks started getting old enough to leave the nest, just not old enough to leave her, but just leave the nest, she started coaching them out of the nest so that she could teach them about what they can expect from the outside world, and start teaching them how to hunt and how to overcome obstacles, on their own. And the reason why I wanted to have this discussion, because this is what we ought to be doing with our children, just like the mama duck. In the black community, the black mama duck, she is expected to not only create the nest and house the baby ducks, but she's expected to create the nest and house the baby ducks over until they're into their adulthoods, especially the male ducks. We mollycoddle and mollycoddle, and we won't let our little ducklings venture from the nest, and we won't teach them how to overcome obstacles, and we won't teach them how to swim and get out there in the world and to do things on their own. So what ends up happening is when the mama duck does not do this for the baby ducklings, the predators come, and because they're not used to doing things on their own, they're not used to the outside world, they have not ventured from the nest, they're unaware of the danger of predators, they have not been taught what to do in case they encounter one. And so the predators come and they eat every single baby duck that's in that nest. And those are for the ones that never leave their shelters. Then there are instances where the mama duck dies, and the baby ducklings, not knowing how to hunt for themselves or go out into the world and overcome obstacles so that they can survive, the only thing that they know how to do is to feed off of the carcass of the mama duck for nourishment. And when that is all gone and mama duck has been eaten away and there's nothing left, they die because they've never learned how to hunt. They've never left the nest. And also, they are more subject to being, how can I say, they're more subject to predators coming by and devouring them. But the mother duck that coaches the baby ducks out of the nest, teaches them how to overcome obstacles, shows them safe places where they can swim and hunt, and teaches them how to survive in this world. Those ducks, they grow up to be strong and wise, and they have a higher rate of survival than the ones that never leave the nest. I was watching this film where the mother duck had at least about 12 little ducklings in the nest with her. They were little teeny tiny ducklings. And every day she would coach them out of the nest, take them out on a little duck walk, and they would have to go over and around obstacles, and they would have to find the water. She always leads them to the water because it's the safest place, plus they're water animals, and it's easier for them to find food there. That's where their food supply usually is, in the pond. But there's always this one duckling out of the whole bunch that just can't figure out how to get out of the nest. They're always struggling. They're trying to, jump this way and jump that way. They can't figure it out. Eventually they figure it out, but it's always that one that takes a little bit longer to climb out of that nest. And so the mother duck patiently waits for the last duckling to make its way out of the nest. And she patiently waits for the last duckling to get over the obstacles. She patiently waits for him to wade into the waters and hunt for food. And every now and then, the brothers and sisters, the ones that are a little bit more apt at what they're doing, they'll go back and they'll help the one little duckling that's having issues and problems until that one little duckling also becomes apt at what they're doing, and they become able to swim very strongly and hunt for food and get over obstacles. And eventually, they all wander away from the mama duckling into the world to create their own little baby ducklings. The moral of the story today, people, is I saw a panel where different parenting skills were being evaluated, and we were coming down on the parents that want to get the kids out when they turn 18. And I don't agree with just throwing the kid out when they turn 18, okay? Because they don't have the skills that they need to really, really make it out there in the world. They don't have all the provisions yet. So, they still need a little bit more coaching. So if you have a baby duck that is coachable, and that is the key, they have to be coachable, because the laws of the land tell you as a parent that you cannot choose one over another. Meaning that if your child is 18, they are considered an adult. If they tell you that they don't want to go to college, say for instance, this is a real good example. And I know a lot of parents that they have these back and forth power struggles with their adult children when they graduate from high school. Some of the children want to take a year off from school because they're just tired of going to school. And I get it. I do. And many times, the parent is poor and have other children to take care of. So now they're saying, okay, if you're not wanting to go to school and you're not wanting to learn a trade, you're not wanting to go into the military, what then do you want to do while you're living under my roof? Because now you're grown. And last time I checked, every grown person got to pay bills. And see, this is where the real parenting comes in, because that portion of time when you're dealing with a young adult and they think they know everything, there is going to be a power struggle. And see, all of the experts, the gurus, the so-called super parents out here, When they're telling you that you gotta, house your children past high school, they never ever talk about the power struggle of dealing with an adult child that think they know everything in your house. They never consider this situation at all whatsoever. So always consider the source of who you're getting advice from, because some of these people that's giving you advice ain't parents. And some of these people that's giving you advice have never grown up or had to raise children in your particular situation. Now, being that we're black people, majority of us, we are working poor, majority of us. And then you got the rest of us who are working middle class. Very few of us who are wealthy. So this is the demographic that we're dealing with. The great majority of us are either working poor or working middle class. So if you have an adult child in your house and you're working, especially if you're working poor, and you have other children that you're trying to coach out of the nest, and this one tells you not only do they not want to do anything at the moment to better their opportunities of getting out of the nest and getting an opportunity so that they can, get a good career or a good job or start a good business for themselves. They're not wanting to do anything. They're telling you that they want to stay in the nest, play Nintendo until they figure it out. That's essentially what they're telling you. And while they're playing Nintendo, they also want to go and purchase weed, and they want to go sit on your couch or your back porch or in their bedroom and smoke it with their friends. Whilst they don't pay you no bills, and whilst they're not improving themselves. This is what they're saying. So now I wonder what all of the super parents would do in a situation like this, where you have an adult child. You cannot just put them out, because that's the other fallacy. They have established residency in your home. You can't just put them out. Now, for me, my rule has always been, once you graduate from high school, you got 1 year of fuckery. And then after that, I'm going to start punching the clock. So in reality, 9 months in, and I still see you not doing anything, that's when I go down to ye old courthouse and I get that 90-day eviction. And from there, I'm going to say, congratulations, son. Congratulations, daughter. You have made your decision with what you want to do with the rest of your life. And so, therefore, my help is no longer needed, since you have decided that this is your last and final destination. So now you're going to have to go with the decision that you made and try to make do with it, absent of my provision. And the reason why I say that this is very important for you to do in this situation that no expert ever wants to speak on. They never want to speak on situations like this that are very real. because that tough love is not exactly commendable in our community, especially if you're a single mother. Now, fathers, you guys get away with the tough love a lot better than mothers do, because of course we expect fathers to be a little bit more tougher than mothers. Mothers, we got the title of being nurturers. So as nurturers, we are supposed to forever provide nurturing for these grown kids that don't want to do anything with their lives. So you're going to continue to go to work. You're going to continue to buy grown folks that have made decision not to do anything with their lives, clothes and shoes and PlayStations like they still children, because that's what you're supposed to do. Because you're not supposed to kick folks out that ain't trying to do nothing with themselves. Nah, none of the experts ever talk about that particular situation. What do you do when you got a grown person in your house that digging their heels and legally you can't beat them, you can't make them go to college, you can't boot them over to the military and make them fill out the paperwork. You can't do any of that stuff. What do the experts have to say about that? Are you wrong? Are you a F parent when you've said you've had enough of the freeloading and you don't want to listen to my advice? You're an F parent if you say, okay, if you don't want to live under these rules, you got to leave, you got to go, you made your choice. This is the scenario that nobody ever wants to touch, not with a 10-foot pole. Because, see, the answer that everybody wants to hear is, especially if you're a black woman, is that you're going to just be quiet, give them 5, 10 years to figure out when they're done playing with the PlayStation and smoking up the weed in your house and not contributing to any bills. You're supposed to be patient for a good 5, 10 years. When they hit 30, then for some reason the 30 is the magical age in the black community when it's acceptable for you to kick your grown kids out. Not 19, 30. That's how long they want you to wait. And I say that by the time they're 30, it's too late. I say that's way too long to be waiting for your adult child to get their shit together. I say if you don't kick them out after that year that you've given them to figure it out, if you don't do it, they will never figure it out. Everything that they plan for themselves economically is going to involve you and you getting out there and working for them. You are going to be the horse and the mule for your children for life. And this is the reason why you have a lot of elderly black women in the black community that don't have no savings, no retirement, because they have dedicated far too many years taking care of everybody and not looking out for herself. There's a lady that my mom, she used to bring food to her house. She was in her church. Her name was Miss Bernice. Miss Bernice had a son that she had allowed to live with her past 40. Yes, 40. Miss Bernice had gotten sick because she was too old to work and she was forced to retire. And when that happened, she asked the son to help her make the bills because she was no longer earning the type of money that she was earning when she was working. And that 40-year-old son that she had allowed to lay on her couch well past high school would not get a job to help his mother. In fact, as soon as he could find another to monkey branch over to besides his mother, he left his mother high and dry. And she had no savings, no retirement to her name. That was her reward for mollycoddling and being patient with an adult child that didn't want to do anything after high school. So these cautionary tales are real life situations. This ain't no textbook scientist type stuff that you're going to get from a cold psychiatrist's office. This is real life. Parents, if you love your children, you would do like the mama duck does, and you will nudge them out of the nest. You will teach them everything that they need to know about how to survive in the world, even before they graduate from high school. And once that duck gets of age where they can waddle around in the world, meaning they've graduated from high school, if they do not want to, how can I say, listen to your advice, listen to you when you show them how to overcome obstacles, listen to you when you try to tell them which waters to wade in, where the food is, meaning that you try to tell them, okay, you can go to college, you can go to trade school, you can do military. You that they don't want to listen to you when you try to tell them how they can survive out into the world on their own. Well, that's when you have to be like the ruthless mother duck. The ruthless mother duck, she pretty much she don't nudge the baby duckling out of the nest. She kicks him out the nest. And if he still won't go, some mother ducks will actually leave the nest herself and build a new one where the duck can't find her. And so that duck is forced to have to figure it out on their own because they're not open to listening to her tutelage. And with being forced to do it on their own, they're forced to look at these obstacles, to wade in those waters, and basically fend for themselves and find their own food. Because, like in the first scenario, the mother duck will eventually get old and not be able to do these things for the baby duck, or the mother duck dies and the baby duck still will have to do it on their own. So whether they start when they're 20 or when they're 30, they're still going to have to do it on their own. And it's better for them to do it while they're young than wait until they're middle aged, talking about they trying to fill out an application for an apartment at 40. It's better for them to learn while they're young. Go through all the trials, tribulations, mistakes. All of it is a learning experience. Better to find out while you're young than old, especially the hard head ones that don't want to listen to your tutelage. But at any rate, I didn't want to take up too much of your time. I don't do these long monologues any longer because I know the attention spans are short. But I do want to acknowledge everybody that came in to kick it with me today. I see Kojan Malik, Commendable K. Commendable K says, let me see if I can blow this up. He says we have to vet not just the advice, but the advisor. People with limited experience that can't teach you wisdom. It's easy to give advice when not in one's shoes. Exactly. Princess Rescuer, what's going on? And what's up, DOD? If you guys are just getting in, make sure you catch it on the replay. I make sure that I make these little night rides and morning rides short, so that you guys can sort of get a little tidbit of information in. And it's a little food for thought, but it's always family oriented, and it's always something that I feel needs to be said that isn't being said. So at that point and at this juncture, I'm on the road. I don't want to get cut off. That's the reason why I started making these short and I don't open up the panels anymore. But I just want to say thank you so much for listening and joining me. You guys are the real MVPs. And with that, I'm going to say peace. I'm out. Holla.